Hello everyone, in this video I'm gonna share my journey from as a complete beginner for the SAT Math section to achieving a higher score on it. So far I have taken the SAT 3 times and my best score for the Math section is 790, almost perfect score, and I took it in October. So today I'm gonna share all the process of achieving it and share some tips based on my experience. The first thing that I did as a complete beginner to the SAT Math was identifying my level. I took a placement test from the SAT Tashkent platform, identified my level, and started studying from PSAT. And studied only for about 1 month because the only thing that I didn't know regarding the PSAT was geometry, so I studied only geometry and move on to the digital SAT Math section itself. So if you are also a complete beginner and start the SAT, specifically SAT Math, I highly recommend identifying your level first, because you can make a guideline, you can make goals and plans based on your level. It is a really good step to start your SAT Math journey. And I move on to the digital SAT Math section and started to learn all the topics. While I was learning all the topic, I understood one thing, and I want to share it as a tip. And it will be, do not underestimate the SAT Math. Yes, it is easier compared to English section. Yes, it is easier compared to other math exams, but it doesn't mean that it is easy itself. It doesn't mean that you do not have to spend enough time on it. You still need practice, you still need to learn all the topic, you still need to be master on those topics, you still need to solve hard questions. Some people, gonna say that it is very easy, so I'm not gonna spend enough time on it, and rather I'm gonna focus on other things. Please do not underestimate the SAT Math. Instead, use this fact for your benefit. If it's easy, why not spend more time? Why not learn the topics much faster? Why not do more practice? Why not solve more hard questions and increase your not only your math score but also your overall SAT score much more faster? Isn't it a good way? Like, use this fact for your benefit. Then I move on to the digital SAT Math section itself. I learned all the topics in 2 months. During a period, I learned one thing, and I wanted to share this again as a tip. It will be learn all the topics and be master on them. It is a very, very important and a first step for starting SAT Math journey or getting high score, because the SAT test has certain concepts and has certain topics that you should know for solving the questions. And if you know all the topics and the concept, then you are good to solve and you can get a high score. So that's why knowing all the topics is very significant step towards your SAT Math journey. But knowing all the topics is not enough if you're aiming for a perfect or the high score, since there are some questions that gonna require certain techniques, not only just a concept. you have to be master on this topic, not only know those concepts. Let me share the example. Let's look at this question. It's a simple linear equation question because we have a slope here and we have a y-intercept here. And if you read the question, it asks us about which statement is the best interpretation of something something. And I highlighted the keyword, which is interpretation. Well, while it is in a linear equation question, some people make a mistake even if they know the concept of this linear equations. As I said, knowing only the topics is not enough. For getting a high score, you should be master on them. You should have a certain techniques to solve certain questions. Now, I'm going to share a one technique that I always use for interpretation questions. Whenever I see the word interpretation, I always use technique. Whether it's a quadratic, whether it's exponential, I don't care about what question type is, but the only thing I care about is the interpretation word, because College Board, asks us a lot of questions about interpretation or the meaning of something, something, and I always use this technique, and it always helped me. Let me explain that technique. It's a input-output technique. And what is this basically about? I'm going to show you. Firstly, let's identify our input. I'm going to write input equals to, in order to find the input, there is always a input, and it is a t here. And if we read the question again, it itself gives explanation, which is the months. Okay, our input is months. And let's find our output. Output is equals to what? And the output is always equals to this number, this symbol. And again, we're going to read the question, and it itself gives explanation. It means that the function m models the weight. Okay, we're going to say the weight. Okay, we found our input, which is months, and we found our output, which is weight. And it's saying that when your input equals to 7, your output should be equal to 20. And if we replace this with our keywords, it's gonna be when there were maybe the 7 months, the weight was 20. I just gave my own interpretation, and let's look at the answers. Let's look at A. The pig weighed 20 pounds 7 months after it was born. I think it was perfectly the matches, because we have 20 pounds, it equals to our weight, and as you can see, this is 20. Okay, and 7 months, and we have a 7 months, and that's it. I think you got the hang of it. Let's look at the other option. The pig weighed 7 pounds. Well, there was a problem. There is a problem here, because it's saying that the output is the 7, but as you can look at see, the input was the 7, not the output. So it's just straightly incorrect. It's wrong. Let's look at C. The pig's weight increased by 20 pounds during the 7 months after it was born. Yeah, it is, the input is correct, but it's a slope. As you can see, it's increased by, it's a slope. It is not the output. So let's just get rid of it. And that is exactly the same, increased by 7 pounds. Because why we do not, slope interpretation here is because we just only need the input and the output. That's it. And this is a technique that I always use for interpretation question types. I hope you understand what I did here. Yeah, I on purpose solved an easy question because maybe some people are watching as a complete beginner, so I don't want to complicate the example, but you can still take the overall idea is input and the output, and you can use for most interpretation questions. It can save and help you to find the answer. So I just wanted to remind you that it's a easy example, but I recommend you take the overall idea, not just focus on this example. After learning all the topics and the concepts, being master on them, solving a lot of practice, I took my first SAT test and I got 710 in my first attempt from the math section. Doing all the things that I have to do, still not a high score, still not a perfect score. But there was one thing that I didn't pay attention to it. It was Desmos. Yeah, learning how to use Desmos can be game changing for your SAT math journey. But now I wanted to tell my famous quote of my SAT math teacher, and he said that Desmos is not a guaranteed way of finding the right answer. You're gonna see some questions you try to solve through by Desmos, and the Desmos unfortunately show, let's say, some answers, and you may pick them as a correct answer. It may be the correct answer, it may not be the correct answer. It all depends on how you use the Desmos. And he continues, the Desmos is useful for finding the answer faster. Let's say you see one question and how to solve it by your hand, and how to solve it by using Desmos. And just imagine you are solving this question in just 20 seconds by using Desmos, and you are spending 2 minutes to solve this by your hand. In this time, using Desmos can be life changer. It's gonna save a lot of time. And the time management in a digital SAT is equally important as the knowledge. So my main point is, yeah, being mastering the Desmos can help you to get more higher score, but it doesn't mean that you have to only rely on the Desmos. If you don't know how to solve the question by your hand, I think you will not understand what the Desmos gonna do or something like that. So my tip will be, firstly, learn all the topics. If you don't know them, don't try to be master on the Desmos until you know all the topics and be master on them. I mean, you can know some little Desmos things, but I don't want you, to focus on full on Desmos and, finding every single question by using Desmos. As I said, the Desmos is not the way for finding the right answer. The Desmos is only helpful for finding the answer, maybe the correct answer, faster. So after learning all the topics, I highly recommend you being master on Desmos because it's gonna save a lot of time and spend more time on hard questions. But don't rely on the Desmos completely. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you have any questions or ideas about this video, feel free to leave in the comment section below. If you are searching some SAT math, certain techniques for hard questions or topic explanation, stay subscribed because I'm gonna upload more videos soon. So don't lose